Hi everybody, welcome to the Quiz 1 video for Chapter 3. This is going to cover basic operations with decimals and fractions by hand without calculators, and then one-step, two-step, and multi-step equations. So the first one, 6 questions here, we have questions without calculators by hand. So in number 1 we have different, or both negative signs here. When the signs are the same, when that happens, we're actually going to be adding the absolute values of the numbers. So we're going to add up 4.61 and 0.78, lining up your decimals there. When we do that, we get 9, 6 and 7 is 13. Carry the 1 and we get 5.39. But I always talk about thinking about this on a number line. We start at negative 4.61, somewhere right about here. We'd be adding a negative 0.78 to it, so we're actually adding just a little bit more negative. The answer is going to get more negative. There's no way we're going to cross over 0. So the final answer is negative 5.39. Oops, sorry about that. Negative 5.39. In number 2, we have to subtract fractions, and here we have a common denominator, so we can subtract the numerators. 7 take away 11. 7 minus 11 is into the negatives. It's negative 4 over 3. And that's the final answer. From now on, we don't really need to ever write fractions as mixed numbers. So some of us would like to think about it as negative 1 1/3, which is right, but we don't even need to do that. Later on in high school, you really only ever use improper fractions most of the time. Number 3, 7.5 times 8. If we line up the or not line up the decimals, but just multiply it out here, 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 7 is 56, plus the 4 is 60. And if you notice, we got to figure out the decimals here. We have one digit behind the decimal. So in our answer, we have to have one digit behind the decimal. So this one's actually 60. Moving along here, the next one we have a division question. When we do division of fractions, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So the first is really negative 6 over 1. We're going to change division into times, and then multiply by the reciprocal of 3 over 13. Oh, sorry, hang on. I have no idea what's happening. Oh boy. Okay, I think I fixed the problem, hopefully. Here we're going to change the division into multiplication again. And then what we do is the reciprocal of our second number here. We flip that fraction over, it's 13 over 3. And now we can actually multiply this out. And it's a good idea to look for things that cancel first when it's multiplication. So we can actually divide 3 into 6 and 3 there. If we divide each of those by 3, negative 6 is really negative 2. And divide 3 by 3, we get 1. So when you multiply this out, negative 2 on top times 13 is negative 26. And on the bottom, 1 times 1 is 1. So you could have negative 26, or just negative 26 over 1, or just negative 26. In number 5, we have to get a common denominator before we add. So the common denominator between 5 and 12 is actually 60. We need to turn both of these into something over 60. So in the first fraction, we have to multiply numerator and denominator by 12. And in the second fraction, we have to multiply numerator and denominator by 6. Oh, I lied. 5. I don't know what I was thinking. Sorry. 12 times 5 is 60. So on the left fraction, 12 times 4 on top is 48. On the right fraction, 11 times 5 is 55. Now we have to add those together. We have a common denominator. We can add them together now. When we do this math here, we get 13, carry the 1. Looks like 103. 103 over 60. And that's a big number to try to reduce. So you can think of factors of 103 that go into 60. The only thing that divides into, well, there's a lot of things that divide into 60, like 3. But I know that won't work because 99 goes into 3, but 99 plus 4 is 103, so it's going to be too high there. So that's our simplified answer there. And that one's a tough one to simplify on your own, or make sure it's simplified. And number 6, same thing, division. We're going to change it to multiplication. So we have negative 4 over 9 times negative 3 over 2. the negative out front doesn't actually matter if it's on top or bottom, but the reciprocal of a negative fraction is still negative. And now when we reduce or multiply, negative times negative is positive. And then we can actually cancel out a lot of stuff here. Notice we have a 9 on the bottom and a 3 on top. Dividing each of those by 3 gives me negative 1 and 3. And then we can cancel out the 4 and the 2, with the negative 4 and the 2. Negative 4 divided by 2 is 2, negative 2. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. So now when we multiply negative 2 times negative 1 on top, once again that was positive. And then 3 times 1 is 3. So this one ends up being 2/3. Alright, moving down to the equations, one-step equations. We have f divided by negative 3. So in this question we're going to multiply both sides by negative 3. Opposite of division is multiplication. So when we multiply and cancel these out, on the left side it's actually division. We're actually canceling out top and bottom. And we get f is equal to 90. And to check that, you can plug that 90 back in. If you plug it in for that f up here, right here, 90 divided by negative 3 is actually negative 30. In number 8, we have to get rid of addition. So to get rid of addition of 2/3, we would subtract 2/3 from both sides. So this one is a subtraction of fractions question. What we have to do is do 5/9 minus 2/3. And we need a common denominator again. So 5/9, our common denominator is going to be 9. We'd multiply this by 3 on top and bottom. And we would get 4/9. So when we subtract those, 5/9 minus, sorry, I don't know what I was doing. Let me back up. Went too fast. On the right fraction, 3 times 3 is 9 on the bottom, and then 2 times 3, sorry, is 6. There you go. Hopefully you saw that mistake and said, what are you talking about? So 5 minus 6 is negative 1. So when we do the subtraction here, w is negative 1/9. There we go. Number 9, sorry. On number 9, we have a subtraction sign in here, but don't let that trick you. What we're really trying to do is getting rid of this 6 first, and that 6 is positive. So for that positive 6 to do it, we have to subtract it. So if we take away 6 from both sides, on the right side, we get 19 take away 6 is 13. And we have to bring down the negative sign with the 2h. It's a common mistake there. And now we have negative 2 times h, so the opposite of times is divide. We divide both sides by that negative 2. And at this point, we know that 13 doesn't divide evenly into 2. So when that's the case, if we look in this box here, we want to try to simplify this. Because it's just a division question. It's a fraction. So we want to actually simplify it. And 13, 2 doesn't go into 13, and there's no other factors of 2 other than 1. So this final answer is 13/negative 2. And once again, you can have the negative out front. You can have it on top. It's all the same thing. I guess I'll just leave it out front. But the answer is negative 13/2. Number 10, when we divide both sides here by 0.3, because we have times in the middle right now, dividing by 0.3 on both sides is a decimal division question. So 4.95 divided by 0.3, 0.3 goes outside, 4.95 goes inside. And we have to adjust this divisor on the outside. We have to adjust this 0.3 and make it 3, and adjust the 4.95 and make it 49.5. Bring your decimal up. And what we do is we say how many times does 3 go into 4? That's 1. Multiply, subtract, and bring down. Subtract 4 minus 3 is 1. Bring down that 9. 3 goes into 19, a total of 6 times, with 1 left over, so 18. Take away 19, there's 1. Bring down the 5. And 3 goes into 15 5 times. So my answer is positive 16.5. That's a bad circle. 16.5. There we go. Next one here, number 11. On number 11, we have to isolate x, or get x by itself. So we need to get rid of that 7, and it's a positive 7. So to get rid of that positive 7, we're going to subtract it from both sides. And we're going to bring down the negative and the x, negative x. And remember, that's really negative 1x. Now we have negative 2 minus 7. On a number line, here's negative 2. If we're taking 7 away, we're going 7 jumps to the left, okay? So we're actually becoming more negative by subtracting. So when the signs are the same there, you have to actually add 2 and 7 to get 9, and then know that the answer is negative at the end. And now we have negative 1x here. To undo negative 1 times x, we divide by negative 1. And we get x equals 9. Positive 9 is our answer there. In number 12, we have some decimals. We have to combine some like terms here. So on the right-hand side of this equation, we see that we have to add up 0.1n and 0.7n. 0.1n plus 0.7n is 0.8n. We have that 3 still, and 7.8. And now we're going to go ahead and subtract 3 first, and then divide by 0.8. So when we subtract 3 from each side, we get 4.8 equals 0.8n. I'm going to run out of some room here, so I'm going to go over to the side here. We have to do 0.8, divide by 0.8 on both sides. So it's really 0.8 into 48, or 4.8, sorry. And now we have to move that decimal over just like before, one space. And it's really how many times does 8 go into 48? And that is 6 times. So the answer when we do that division is n equals positive 6. Alright, so here's the back side now. If we take a look at the next part. The first question, we're getting into some more complicated ones. This is where we have to distribute first, then combine like terms and isolate that variable. So first, we have to distribute this negative 8 times x. And remember, it's really times when you're distributing. And then 8 times 2. So 8 times x is 8x. And in the second arrow there, 8 times positive 2. 8 times 2 is 16. From here, we go ahead and solve our equation just like before. We get rid of the adding and subtracting first. And subtract there, we get, I believe that is 5. And here's another example where we're not going to get a good answer or a whole number answer. When we're going to do this equation, we're going to solve by 8 on both, or divide by 8 on both sides. And we actually get just that fraction, 5 over 8. And it's okay to leave it like that, 5 over 8. If it reduced, you'd want to try to reduce it, but that one didn't. In number 14, we have a fraction question here with distributing a negative fraction. So this one's a little more complicated. Negative 1/3 times p is just negative 1/3 p. And negative 1/3 times positive 1, anything times 1 is itself. Negative times positive is negative, so it's minus 1/3. And that equals 1/6. So now to get this p by itself, we have multiplication and subtraction. We have to undo the subtraction first by adding 1/3 to both sides. And off to the side, 1/6 plus 1/3, getting common denominators. We have 1/6 plus 2/6, which is 3/6. Actually, why don't we simplify that? 1/6 plus 2/6 is 3/6, which is actually 1/2. So all this was 1/2, and I put it there in my answer. And going back to the left side here and forgetting what we did here, we subtracted that off and canceled it. So we have negative 1/3 times p equals 1/2. And now at this point we have to multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of negative 1/3, flip that fraction over, we're actually going to multiply by 3 over the negative 1. And we're going to do that on both sides. Because what happens on the left side is the 1s that cancel out, 3s cancel out, and negatives, negative times negative is positive. So that gives us p on the left side, which is what we want. And on the right side, 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So this fraction, your answer is 3 over negative 2. And again, you can have that negative on bottom, out front, or on top. Either one is the same, it's all the same thing. Don't squeeze it in with that equal sign. Make sure you put it somewhere where it's standing out there. Next one, number 15. Another fraction one to distribute. We have 4/5 times 10. Off to the side here, thinking about that as times 10 over 1. You can just go ahead and multiply. It'd be 40 over 5, and that reduces to 8. Or if you canceled out some things first, if you see that 5 and 10 can be divided by 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5. Oh, I lied. Sorry, 10 divided by 5 is 2, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. So if you canceled out first, you should be able to see quickly that 4 times 2 is 8, and 1 times 1 is 1. That's how I got 8y. For the same reasoning, 4/5 times negative 15. Let me show you that there. I'll just start all over here. 4/5 times negative 15, or just times 15 is fine for now. We can reduce that fraction as well. Again, that was 8y. Dividing by 5 on top and bottom, we get 3 and 1. So now when we multiply, it's actually minus 12 there. 4 times 3 on the top is 12. And that step, maybe that didn't make sense. You might want to go back, skip back a little bit and watch that again. See if it's really making sense. Don't just take my word for it. Really believe that and prove it to yourself there. So now we have a much easier equation to solve. All we do is add 12 to both sides. And we divide by 8. We get y is equal to 4. And that's it. In the next one, number 16, we have a 1 in front. We have 1m minus 6m. We're combining those like terms. 1 take away 6 is negative 5. But we also have to bring down that other negative 5. And that's equal to 0. It's a little strange that it's equal to 0, but we'll see that we're actually going to add 5 to both sides now. That cancels out, and we get 5. And now we divide by negative 5 on both sides. And make sure you think about that as a times in between there, because a lot of people will start to add 5 accidentally if they're thinking about it quickly there. 5 divided by negative 5 is negative 1. So there's our final answer there. On the next one here, the equation P, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. A little too big, hang on. I'll try to fix it here. Alright, there we go, a little better. The equation is P equals 2.5m plus 35 is the price of a bracelet, and m is the cost of the material. So the bracelet price is $115. So that's our P. And then the whole rest of it is equals 2.5m plus 35. And we want to solve this equation for m. So dividing or subtracting 35 off both sides. When we do that subtraction, notice that I lined it up. 5 minus 5 is 0. And 11 minus 3 is 8. So we get 80 is equal to 2.5m. And now we have to divide 2.5 into 80. So off the side here, 2.5 goes into 80. Well, we got to change that divisor to make it 25. And 80 becomes 800. It's really how many 25s are in 800. Well, we'll start off by saying how many times does 25 go into 80? And that is 3 times. So 25 times 3 is 75. When we do that subtraction, we get 5 and bring down the 0. 25 goes into 50 twice. So the answer here, when we do that division, is 32. So that means, if we go back to our question here, it says, what's the cost of the materials? The materials cost $32. And the last one. Thanks for sticking with me to the end and watching through this. If there's any questions, you might want to go back and just watch it again. Pause and try some questions on your own as well. Don't just always listen to me. Make sure you're trying them on your own, pushing pause, and checking your work. So here we have 455 feet of fence. So that's our answer to the question here. And we want to figure out what's the length of each side of the pasture. So here what we do is we actually add up all the sides. We get x plus 3x plus 1.5x plus 180. So those four sides added up give us that answer. And we have 1x plus 3x plus 1.5x. Those are all like terms. We can combine those. Let's see, that'd be 4, 5.5. And now what we'll do is subtract 180. When we do that subtraction, we get 5. We have to do a little bit of borrowing. 15 minus 8 is 7, and 3 minus 1 is 2. So it's 275 equals 5.5x. And now we got to do some more division here by a decimal. So we'll divide by 5.5. This one gets a little tougher to do, but 5.5 into 275. Carry that decimal over 1. And this time we actually have to add in a 0. So it's really how many times does 55 go into 2750? So for this one, we have to say how many times does 55 go into 2750? Well, if we do 55 times 10, that'd be 550, which is almost double 275, or close to that, just kind of estimating. So why don't we cut that in half? Why don't we try 5? What's 55 times 5? Multiplying that out, 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 5 is 25 plus 2 is 27. Oh, actually that worked out perfectly. So we actually get 55 times 5 is 275. We subtract and we get 0 there. And then we actually bring down the other 0 and say how many times does 55 go into 0, and that's another 0. So the answer here, at the final part here, is x is actually equal to 50. Okay, now that's x, but we wanted to go back and see what each length of the fence was. So it's kind of hidden right here, but this one's x, so this one's actually 50. This one's 3 times x, so 3 times 50. We're just substituting in our x value. 3 times 50 is 150. So that's this answer there. 1.5 times 50, well, that's 1 of 50 and half of 50. That's 75. And this one's 180. So those are the 3 or 4 lengths of the fence. It's 50, 150, 75, and 180. Thanks for listening in, guys. If there's any questions, if things aren't making sense or you need some extra practice, check the folder in Schoology for some more practice. Come see me during lunch. But thanks for listening. See you guys later.